Hello and welcome to day 153 in this quest for a 2000 rapid chess rating on chess.com. Alright, let's find an opponent. Okay, we have one immediately here. Okay, I'm going to start with d4. Maybe try and do the Jabava London setup. Let's see how they respond. Okay, already they are not sure what to do here, I guess. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so they decide to do that. A lot of times when they do that, we can just push the other pawn in the center. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right, now I have to decide, do I want to push this H-pawn right away? Or should I move this first? If I push this pawn, or not pawn, if I push my bishop up here like in the Jabava, they could attack me. So maybe I just go here. All right, I'm taking a lot of time to think here. All right, let's immediately push that H-pawn, see if we can scare them. All right, now do we go here, threaten to get rid of their bishop, or do we push here? If we push this H-pawn, the knight takes, we could take Is that enough, though? All right, maybe we develop our bishop. Well, first of all, let's go here. Threaten to trade off the dark squared bishop. And we can get ready to castle as well. All right. Does that just kind of help us? Because now we can just try and trade that off. So we're able to get rid of the bishop. All right. So we might as well just take. Okay, that was a little unexpected. I should ignore this and just get my king castle to safety, I think. We could attack with the bishop, perhaps. Should we attack with the bishop and threaten to break open the king side here? Maybe that would be good. I probably need to castle, though. If we castle, yeah, I think that would be wise. We'll just go ahead and castle. Because now we're also threatening to capture this pawn. If they capture, we can capture the queen And if the rook recaptures, oh, they didn't notice that. They did not notice that possibility. Because now if they capture, we capture their queen. Okay, so now, do we just go after another pawn? Okay, we still have the possibility. I think we should go here and go after this knight. Yeah, we'll go after the knight. So now we're threatening to take their knight and break this side open. If they capture here, well, then we can capture the queen, like I said. And then if they capture, our rook will capture. But now that they've moved, we should break open the king side, I think. So we'll break the king side apart. Then we'll go after this pawn. And now we could... they resigned already. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I guess they resigned. We're like plus 3.6. We're almost plus 4 ahead. See, I don't know. Stuff like this, I don't understand why the person doesn't keep playing, because I kind of think people are using computer help. Because if you're using help or you can see this bar, you'll be discouraged and quit. But if you weren't cheating and using if you're not able to see this bar or the computer saying that your opponent is almost 4 pawns worth ahead, right now you're only down 1 pawn. Your king side is broken, yes, but I don't know. This kind of makes me think that people are using a computer. They're like seeing this bar and they get discouraged and quit like this, because otherwise, you could just keep playing on further and see if your opponent makes a mistake. All right, well, I guess we'll do a game review and we'll dig deeper into this. So game review. It looks like I played at 95.9% accuracy, only because it was a short game. If it was a longer game, I doubt I would stay in the 90s like that, unless unless there was not a lot of tactics. All right, anyway, what can we learn? They played at 80.8. We had one great move. They had, let's see, 1 inaccuracy and 1 mistake, and we didn't have any. And underneath my image here, maybe I can move this for a second. Let's see. Here, you can see I played at a 2300 level and they played at 1900. So let me move this back. All right. Okay, so yeah, I played at 2300. They played at 1900. In the opening, I played 97.9% accuracy versus their 91.9. And then in the middle game, I played 92.7 versus their 65.4. Okay. Well, let's start this review, and then afterwards we'll do a little bit of analysis and see what the computer recommends. So D4, I was trying to set up the Jabava London. I don't even know if I made it into a Jabava London. I don't think I did, really. Okay, it kind of blasted through those moves. Now, normally in the Jabava London, they're going to play d5, because if they don't, now I'm able to take the center here with both pawns. And I bring my bishop up here. I don't know if that was the best place for the bishop. Anyway, because they could have tried to attack me. And then what? I mean, I guess I could just drop back and then counterattack their knight later, maybe. All right, so it says this is the Pirc defense. So we'll look more at that later. So let me continue on. Next, we start pushing the H-pawn, which is a theme in the Jabava London, or anytime, well, whenever they fianchetto here. A theme would be to exchange off the dark squared bishops, creating dark squared weaknesses, then push the H-pawn and try and break things open for the H-file rook and queen to attack here. Apparently this was a mistake. They should not have played A5. And we'll look at that in the analysis after this. So let me just continue on here. Apparently this is a great move because if they capture, well, then I can capture the queen, and if they recapture, my rook will get their rook. So they can't recapture this pawn. Okay, so we break apart their king side, and then we grab another pawn here, and at this point they just quit. So let's look at the analysis here. So we go back to the beginning, and d4, so I'm trying to set up a Jabava London. Now normally they'll play d4 to prevent me from bringing both pawns in the center, or they'll play knight to f6, preventing this pawn push to e4. So they do that, they bring the knight up, and I play knight to c3 for the Jabava London. And now we have this move. It says it's an Indian game, kind of like a king's Indian defense. But that allows me to bring both pawns into the center immediately here, which is what I do. See, now if they push their pawn, I guess I could exchange, but maybe better would be to attack the knight, pushing forward, gaining space in the center, and attacking the knight here. All right, so they play d6 now to prevent me from chasing their knight. So here, the computer says the best move is bishop to e3. Bishop to e3. Now, I didn't play that because, one, I was trying to set up a Jabava London type game where you play bishop to f4. But this is the Pirc defense main line now. So, the game has already changed. I probably need to play better, or play differently. I could play pawn up to f4. Knight to f3, or bishop to e3 here. The only thing about that, they could play maybe knight to g4 and attack my bishop, and then I have to move. So then what? Then I guess I could move to f4. All right. So this is what I played, and it looks like computer recommends just c6, which I guess that keeps my knight out of the game and maybe allows this pawn to push forward to d5 and be backed up by the c pawn in the future. Bishop to g7 is the second highest rated move according to the computer. And maybe that's a little more likely. Knight at b to d7. Okay, but in the game, they play this bishop move, so we're still in book moves, Pirc defense, main line. Now, queen to d2 apparently is best. Or even h3, but I played h4. And, what would have been better? Queen to d2 would have been better to immediately do that. Why? Because now if they castle, which I think they ended up doing, did they? Yes. Now it takes me time to get the queen up here and attack the bishop. They could have moved their rook by then and avoided the exchange of bishops. So, let's see. Back here, I should have immediately gone queen to d2. Then, if they castle, then I can immediately go bishop to h6 and trade off the dark squared bishops here. All right. In the game, I played h4. They castled, although they like knight at b to d7 better. So what I was saying is now this is the best move to create this queen-bishop battery, try and trade off the dark squared bishop. They could, though, play rook to e8, and then if I play bishop to h6, the bishop can drop back and not have to trade. But the computer actually recommends immediately counterattacking here in the center with c5, or even e5 is possible. E5 looks a little bit more dangerous. A lot of exchanges would happen. But I think I'll go ahead and show you what would happen if they play e5, because it looks like, oh, are you losing a pawn? But then we have capture. If they capture, we could take the queen, they recapture, and then once we capture here, oh, they have this move, but we can take the knight. They recommend that as being the only move that keeps you ahead. I would almost think about taking this pawn for free maybe, but they don't even recommend that. So you would take the knight, so bishop takes f6, bishop recaptures, then you just bring your other knight out. That way, if the bishop captures your knight on c3, you can recapture with a knight and not wreck your pawns. Okay, well, back to what happened in the game. Let me go back a little bit here. So we push the h-pawn, they castle. We create a battery, and they block us from being able to push. And they maybe thought, oh, we can attack the bishop at the same time, but that's not really an issue because now we just trade off bishops here. What is the other option? What should they have played instead of this knight move? It looks like, once again, e5 would have been better. So, yeah, so they're saying e5 is what, and we just took a look at that. That would just exchange a lot. All right, so knight to h5 is played. We move up here with the best move, getting ready to exchange off the dark squared bishops, leaving a dark squared weakness around our opponent's king. They finally play this e5 move, but now we trade off the bishops. The king comes up. I was kind of wondering if the knight would recapture, but I guess they didn't want me to keep pushing this pawn and try and attack. So now castling. It's actually saying that's not the best move. That better would have been bishop to e2. But then if we played bishop to e2, the knight could jump to f4, attacking the bishop and the unprotected pawn. They recommend us ignoring that and just castling to the queen side. But this is still an excellent move. I castled immediately to the queen side. And my opponent makes a mistake here. And it jumps the game to +3. +3 here in favor of... +3 in favor of white. So a big mistake. Knight to c6 apparently is best. Putting pressure here. Now if we take this pawn, they can recapture with the knight and improve the position of this knight. Although we would be able to push forward and chase the knight, so maybe they would just capture with the pawn, and we could exchange off material here, I guess. They actually recommend none of that. The recommendation is d5, chasing the knight. So d5 is recommended, then the knight would push forward to d4, and then we just develop our other knight attacking their knight, and they could capture. All right, but in the game, back to the game, we had knight to h5, so I go ahead, I went back a little bit far here, so we... Yes, exchanged off the bishops. I castle to the queen side. They try and drum up an attack here by pushing the pawn, gaining space on the queen side, but I ignore that, counterattacking in the center. So whenever somebody attacks on the flank, if you're able to ignore that and counterattack in the center, that's usually a good policy because that immediately forces them to deal with the very important center, unless their queenside attack would directly be threatening my king, which it's not at the moment. So instead of capturing the pawn, because then we could capture queen, rook captures, and then we come out ahead of rook there. So they just develop a bishop lining up on my queen side over here. And now, what did we play? Bishop to e2, the best move in the position, lining up on their king here. Because we still have that threat. We don't have to take this pawn. We can just wait. So they play that. The best thing would have been apparently b5. Interesting. b5, and then it looks like we should take on b5 with a bishop or a knight. Okay. All right, so if we did that, well, now they're saying g4 would be even better. Oh, because then we can trap the knight? Oh, yeah. Why is it not showing g4? It looks like that would be a good move. The knight is trapped now. It can't go back. If it goes forward, we capture it. All right, but they have this counterattacking, so maybe that's why the computer didn't recommend that. Now what? Knight to b5. We jump forward, then we could come back if we need to here and target their bishop. All right. Okay, anyway, let's just play this out. What actually happened in the game? We moved bishop up to e2, threatening to capture the knight and break apart the pawns on the king's side, creating more weaknesses against our king. So what does the opponent do? Ignores that, develops another piece. So now we break apart the pawns, but the computer says that better would have been g4. Oh yeah, we could have just trapped the knight once again. So I guess I overlooked that. Oh no. Well, yeah. Because otherwise the bishop would have to capture the pawn and we just capture the bishop instead. And then what? The knight is still kind of trapped. So apparently g4 would have been even better, because now capture, we just capture the knight and we'd go ahead and material there. So instead in the game we captured this way, they capture, now we capture the pawn, which is best. And this is where the game ended. So what do they recommend? So the game ended after 13 moves. They just gave up here. Huh. I mean, because now we can also go after this. We can go after this pawn right here, start harassing. Or if we wanted to, oh no, we can't. If we go up here, the queen will just trade off. You know, they'll just capture, then we recapture. All right, so let's see what they could have done. You know, if they didn't quit here, it looks like, let's say they captured like this. We're ahead in material, so they want to avoid peace trades. So now, knight at g to e2. Apparently that would be best to just develop our knight and connect our rooks. Okay. Knight at g to e2. So it's saying that's best. Oh, now it's saying knight to h3 would have been even better. Huh. Okay, because that move, well, if they captured us, man, is that really a better move? Up here, knight to h3? Yeah, apparently it says that is best. I mean, it looks like the queen could just regain their pawn, but then we'll have a discovered attack once we move our knight. So they recommend getting here, king to h8. King to h8. Then we should capture. We just grab another pawn here. So, no, now they're saying a3 is even better. Playing a3. But here, what is best? They should capture with their queen. You know, because otherwise we're going to come in here and start harassing their king, maybe. Well, I guess we can't because the knight is covering everything. But anyway, the game could have gone on like this. Let's see. So, I don't. Is it worth it going over more of this? Because now we're just ahead 2 pawns. So, you know, they could capture our knight here and double up our pawns on the H file, which is not so great. But then our rook could grab the open file. So I don't know. I don't know if I would actually play that. In the game, where did we end at? The game ended here. So, you know, if they capture that way, that leaves a isolated pawn. What should we do here? Probably just take this pawn. They recommend knight at g to e2. So, I don't know. Here I would probably just snatch up this pawn, maybe. You know, what if I... Well, we could take a look at that. If I snatch up the pawn, their best move would be queen to b6. So that's the only bad thing about that, is now the queen moves and the rooks can come in here and target my queen, I guess. Oh, and then the queen would target this pawn. So, yeah, maybe it would be better, like the computer said, bring this up, develop another piece. King over to h8 is recommended. And then now it says go ahead and snatch that pawn up. So anyway, feel free to leave comments. Like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. So thank you for watching and have a super chess day.